Good morning, it's the 19th of July 2023 and this is my trade plan for today. On my screen you will notice I have the MES or the ES chart 1 hour time frame. So looking at the weekly briefly, we can see we're pretty, I've got a better weekly one here, but I need drawings on. We're pretty extended. We are coming into this pivot area here. Let's get that drawn up and one sec. So we're coming into this area here and we're not far off it. We are, what's that, that area is 4630 area, 4633, 4631, and if we break through that area then we've got the all-time high over at 4808. So what I'm looking for is a continuation of the trend again today, but knowing that we are slightly extended and we are due a bit of a pullback to this 8 moving average on the weekly. If you look, the last time we had that, we had a bit of sideways where the market went sideways for a few weeks. So it wasn't, so that was a, lots of consolidation. And looking back over this weekly chart, even going back to the 2021, 2022, we never really ventured too far away from the 8. This area here is the only area I can see, and we had a sharp month pullback then, 4 weeks of pulling back. I'm ignoring that, and that's about it really. Got a little bit area here as well where we moved away from the 8 before we pulled back quickly. But one thing to note is that we're having lots of small green days, and then we have a big red day, another big red day. So it pulls back quick, but goes, it's bullish slowly. And so if we look at this pullback here, we had lots of these little small candles going up, and then a big candle taken out 2 days, another big candle taken out the last 2 months. And obviously it's a bit different here because all the candles got really big. But if you look at the week where we are now, the point I'm making is that we are back to small candles again. We had small candles, and again got a few bigger candles up the top. None of these big candles we were getting previously, but smaller candles. So possibly we're looking for it to do something like we did here, pull back, and then get back up for a double top at the top, and we'll see a more high volume. If you look at the volume as well, volume is decreasing week on week as the price is increasing, and usually that's a sign of weakness. But maybe we're going to hit all-time high and then we're going to have a big move back down, but we won't know that until we see it. But yeah, it's interesting to see this because it gives us a bit of a perspective what we could expect to see over the next month or two. So going into my levels for today, I'm back on the MES 1 hour chart, 1 week, 1 hour, back on the 1 hour chart. So I deleted all my drawings, I just added a few extras, I just redid my charts. So first thing I did was the Fibonacci, and you can see we've got this pullback area. The 618 is around 45.64, and it's not too far off this area I'd drawn up this morning, this pivot high. So if we come back down to 45.64, then I want to take a bounce off of that. So what I want to see is the market just come down, and then have a bounce. We're on the 50 moving average as well. So those, hopefully that will align up with this pivot and with the 250 at the same time, and then we want to see a sharp bounce off. So that's what I'm watching for today. As for a higher risk, so this will be a full size bounce, so but I'll layer into my positions. So I'll take a starter entry probably at the 50, and then maybe at the 618 will be my target area, but my preferred area will be 45.65, and my stop will be 45.64, anywhere below that. So just to show, So my stop will be just below the 618 level, and my entry will be on this area. That's my preferred area, 45.65. 45.64 is a stop, and then I'll be layering in from the 50%. I'll do a couple of contracts there. I've got an alert at this area just here, so that's the area convolution where the tops and bottoms are candles, and then my preferred area, and then I'll probably get in at the bottom if we still see weakness and stop out. If we do see weakness, stop out, then I'll be looking for a break and retest low, and I'll be targeting this area here, which is 45.45. For rejection area, so that's a bounce. We've got a higher risk bounce as well, 45.79 or 45.80, and it's basically based on the tops of this candle and the tops of this candle and the bottom of this candle, and we're right in between the two zones I'm watching. In fact, I just realised I put in some red dotted lines. These are my weekly areas. So yesterday we came up to the weekly area, we rejected it, and now we've been hovering around this weekly area. So it's going to make a direction, and so today I'll be looking for a scalp off the open, and I'll be trying to either take the break and retest long, or the break and retest low. So, and I'll be using the pre-market candle as a consolidation as my guide, and it looks like it wants to break up higher, so we'll see. And then I've got 4600 psychological level as a rejection area, and again it's more of a higher risk one because there's no real levels. When I went back to 2022 and at the end of 2021, there wasn't really any real levels. I think the best level was about 46.05, so it would be more of a scalp rejection. Okay, so that's it really. So I'm looking for bounces. I'll start from the bottom. Bounces at 45.45. This is a high probability. 45.66 to 45.64 area. This is another higher probability bounce, and then possibly a scalp at 45.80. That'd be a higher risk scalp. Here we go, we're breaking out over this area. And then I'll be looking for a rejection at 4600, and I'll look on the, have I got any other levels above that? Okay, yeah, we've got an area of supply as well, 46.12, 46.10 area. So if we get there, we could do that. Then I'll judge my entry based on what the market's doing. But potentially we've got a rejection area up here. In fact, I've got a couple of rejection areas marked out. 46.31 with a major weekly. That red line is my major weekly line. I thought I just want to differentiate the yellow lines, which is my hourly, and the weekly lines, which is the red. So 46.31 will be a full position rejection, and I'll be layering into that. Okay, so looking at the SPY, similar levels to the MES. So we've got 458 as a rejection area, and that would be a full size with confirmation. That would be a full size rejection. We've got 460, which is a psychological number. Again, watch for confirmation. And then we've got a potential break and retest of this pivot at 45.86. And then, so these are all, so that's a bounce and these two are rejections. And we've got potential bounces at 453.40 to 453.50. So this area, tops of candles and bottom of candles converge. And in fact, I marked this entire zone, so this will be a zone to watch because it's the bottom of this candle as well. So that's an area to watch, 453 to 453.50 really. If we see weakness, then we've got this pivot as well, and then we want to be looking for a possible bounce at 451.90 to 452. If we see further weakness, we have this pivot, but obviously going back through a few pivots, I prefer the most recent pivots for my lines. That's the reason I've not drawn it in, but that's a potential bounce area. And we've got this heavy concentration of volume, which coincides with this little double bottom at 450. So 450 will be a full size long position, but layering in. So probably layering in as we get to the tails of those candles. So put some starter positions in there with a full position there, possibly one a bit below, and with a stop out below in case we do break down. Bear in mind, as you said, on the weekly, looking like we might be wanting to pull back. So look at the weekly on the SPY, and again the SPY is really extended, quite far away. It's not been back down to the 200 since September, the 50 since March, and the 20 it tried to touch it in May. Again, March is when it broke through and come back out. So we are potentially looking for a bit of a pullback, but maybe we're going to hit this pivot here on the SPY first. Was that 4? Let's clear that. That is 462 to 462.50. So that's potentially what we're looking at, 462.07 actually. So potentially we might hit that pivot first and then heavily reject it back down, because the last time we was there we saw heavy rejection. One more thing I wanted to discuss as well, and it doesn't matter which chart, I'll keep the SPY chart in, is just to discuss about any trapped buyers we potentially may have. I was looking at the chart on the MES. In fact, I'll stick on this one, and when we had this big run up back in November 2021 through to the end of 2022, obviously people were buying the dips, and they brought the dip up here as well, and then we saw this pullback. And I think if people were going to buy the dips every time we touched the 20 moving average, which it looks like that's what happened, we see some big volumes on these days. So the volume increased on the 20, we had an increase of volume here on the 20, again increased volume here on the 20 moving average. You can assume then when we came back down through to the 20 here, on this candle, this weekly candle, and you can see this big increase in volume as well. People were buying the dip again, but what they didn't know, that's at the end of 2022, that was the end, that was the all-time highs. So we're going to have trapped buyers around this area. So the trapped buyers area will be from about 460 all the way up to 475, and so the buyers who didn't get out, so the buyers who didn't get out on that first pullback, let's go back to, I've just gone back to the latest day, let's go back to weekly as well. Okay, so we're back on this chart again. So the buyers who, that's my pen, the buyers who didn't get out on this pullback here are still probably holding. They may be holding, they may have been holding now for for almost a year and a half, 2 years. So maybe what we're going to see is a big rejection here where all these buyers, and bear in mind we had increasing volume over here as well, but all these buyers who are trapped are going to be grateful to get out of their trade. So if we come back up here, we might see a massive big rejection candle. And failing that, probably if we hit all times high, another rejection candle, a big rejection candle, because you know all these people have been holding on to their trades through all this turmoil, and this, you know, they're watching this bottom here, which is a head and shoulders pattern. But the neckline happens to be the heavy area of volume as well. So possibly when we get to this area, I think a lot of people will just be grateful to get out of their trade. And once they're out of their trade, we might see a bit of a pullback. You know, they'll get out for break even or very close to break even as possible. So I think this is an area to watch out for, and that's the reason I marked it up as an area, this reddish area here, because I think we might see a rejection at that area. And the area in question is 460, I think I said 460 to 465 area, and on the MES, the same area on the MES will be 46.35 through to 4700, that area. So I think potentially we're going to see a control. Oh, hang on, I can't get my pen to work. Potentially we're going to see rejection at this level, which would be these buyers in here, and obviously these buyers here who are all adding in on these on this 20 moving average, and we're not far off it. I reckon another 2 days and we might see a nice big move down, but it'd be interesting to see. Right, so that's it. That's just my thought, and it's good to identify potential trap buyers because we might be able to pick them up, pick them off on some short selling. And as you know, my favourite way of trading is short selling, so I'll be keeping an eye out for this. Okay, hopefully you have a good day trading, and I will speak to you today. Bye bye.